With this premier motorsport destination set amidst the scenic landscapes of southwestern Slovakia, welcome to the Slovakia Ring. Located near the capital of the country, Bratislava is a blend of natural beauty and cultural richness. The region also boasts expansive fields, serene rivers and picturesque villages that offer a glimpse into traditional Slovak life. Whether you're here for high-octane excitement of the racetrack or to explore the historical and natural treasures nearby, Slovakia promises an unforgettable experience for every visitor, including every single one of the drivers here this weekend. Champions of the Future, Euro Series Round 3. Here we are at the Slovakia Ring, year of opening 2020. Lap record setting time qualifying this weekend from Jindřich Peschel with a 49.960, a superbly quick time which put him on pole position overall in the class and pole position for that final. The track itself, though, 1,172 meters in total track length, 220 meters down the main straight. It's 150 meters down the infield straight. Track width around 7 to 10 meters wide around the entirety of the circuit. It's 10 meters down the main start straight and just 1 meter of elevation change across the entirety of the track, meaning it is a flat circuit. Turns 15 in total, 5 to the right, 10 to the left, plus the 3 hairpins out on circuit. It certainly makes for a challenging circuit, but the overtaking opportunities, well, there are many of them in towards turn 1, turn 5, 7, 12, 14 and 15. And we have seen many overtakes over the course of this weekend, but you have to be 100% committed into every single one of them. Top speed drivers will be reaching that down into the braking zone of turn number 1, 115 kilometers an hour. With an average speed around 85, these drivers will have a very fast and fierce final going into this one. But it's the juniors that are coming up first. But myself, Anthony Jordan and Andrew Mather in the commentary box, we are looking forward to this one. Andrew, this category has been fantastic, and their race is coming up next.
Yeah, and there's still so much to play for. This is going to be a really key race in the story of Champions of the Future OK Junior for 2024. It's going to be 22 laps for this final here at the Slovak Karting Centre, a 26-kilometre race. And yeah, really unpredictable. I think that's going to be the story across the course of this race. For these drivers who are aged between 12 and 14, at the start of the weekend, we had 92 entries from 37 nations around the world. That has been whittled down to 36. Here's your details on the powering the drivers today. 125cc engines, around 29 brake horsepower. Total weight, including driver, for this category, 140 kilograms. Without fuel and without the driver, the kart is a minimum weight of 70 kilos. Drivers are going to need to keep on top of that, of course, to make sure that they can book those points in. Here are the tyre compounds. They've all been in use this weekend. The Maxxis Dry did a lot of work today and through yesterday afternoon. The wet tyres were used extensively as well at the start of Saturday and across Friday during timed qualifying. And, of course, the first set of heats. But dry conditions here at the circuit mean it's a new set of the Maxxis option for all 36 runners in the final. Means full to the metal racing. The fastest laps in race trim are surely going to be run in this race. There are the drivers forming up on the grid ahead of this final, Anthony. And as I say, a very key one, not just in terms of the round, of course, being the final, but the championship as well. A lot has changed in those point standings since we started here this weekend.
It certainly has. Nicholas Schaufler, now the new leader of the championship standings. This young man here, Christian Kostoya, chatting to our race director, Martin Bean. He now sits 6th in the championship standings. 2 rounds here, or 2 point scoring opportunities at the Slovakia Ring have given him 50 championship points to his name. It bumps him up to only 88 points, though, in the championship standings versus Nicholas Schaufler, who starts this one on the 2nd row of the grids. 176 that he's accumulated over the season. Costoya just didn't have a good round, only scoring 4 points at Val d'Argenton in France. So Costoya really needing this rest of the season to be absolutely fantastic. But Andrew, the start of this one, at the beginning of the day, the super heats were absolutely fantastic. Talk us through some of the highlights.
Yeah, we had 2 of those super heats earlier on this morning. The first of them saw Christian Costoya take things from pole position, knowing that if he won this race, he'd have pole position for the final. He looked to dominate early on. Good scraps in the middle of the field there with Kenzo Craigie trying to make his way through. Battles between the Ricky Flynn Motorsport teammates. We've seen this quite a few times this weekend with Alfie Slater getting through there. But it was Costoya who did indeed take the first superheat win. Into superheat number 2. This time it was Mackie leading from pole position. Nicolas Schaufler knowing that his title rival Dries van Langendonk needed to race through the field, and it all ended for the former championship leader on lap 1. A big story here this weekend. Dries van Langendonk doesn't even make it into this final. Andrea Manni trying to race through as well. Schaufler took advantage, took the race win, and also extended his championship lead to currently 20 points over van Langendonk. As we say, he's not in this race. It's a further 6 points to Coronel. To be clear, Schaufler can't win the title here today. That is going to go on, of course, to Kristenstad. But the Austrian could take a huge, huge step towards becoming champions of the future, champion in OK Junior, if he can have a good race here and third on the grid.
Certainly so. There, though, on your screen, Harrison Mackie from the United Kingdom, not in contention of this championship, but having great practice and a great weekend here as well, with taking multiple wins in his qualifying heats. You can see there Nicolas Schaufler is just coming along to say a few words of encouragement. Now, Mackie was starting this one on the front row of the grid. As you can see, he's on the inside there. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But Mackie only finishing 4th in his race, Superheat, earlier on. So again, a bit of work ahead of him on this one, but he starts on the front row. He's in a good position. He can certainly make it interesting. And crucially, you saw there the likes of Nicolas Schaufler, who will be starting just behind him now, having that word. I'd have been curious to see what he actually said on that one, just saying, I'm going to push behind you, keep going, and let's work together.
Indeed, and well, there you see the details. This is the first major bit of news in this final, that Christian Costoya, as his right as pole sitter, has elected to swap sides on the grid. So he will start on driver's right. He will still, of course, have that advantage ahead of Mackie over start line. That could be quite a key thing here. What are the thoughts, Anthony, on why Costoya may have taken that decision?
Well, the thought I came up with was the fact that it was Nicolas Schaufler who would have been originally starting right behind him, who would have had the benefit of Costoya starting ahead of the likes of Mackie, and will be able to follow him along and get immediately up into second place at the start of the race. Now that Costoya has done that and he switched sides, he's taken that factor away from Schaufler because, like you say, Mackie will have to start a little bit behind him, which will bunch him back, and then it will bring along the likes of Ian Kraling along to maybe follow Costoya through in towards turn 1. So it pushes Schaufler down to 4th place, I would say, maybe at the start of that race, only if he gets a bad start. That's my thinking behind it. I could be totally wrong. There is Nicolas Schaufler, new championship leader going into this final in the mid-stage of the season. I've got to say, leads that championship now by 20 points from Dries van Langendonk. And the fact that Dries van Langendonk is going to score 0 points in this final, if Schaufler wins this one, he'll extend that lead by 50 points. It's a huge lead.
Yeah, it would be a huge lead. It would leave Dries van Langendonk with a lot of work to do. And that's the thing. It's why qualifying for these finals is so critical. This is where half the points for a whole weekend are awarded. There are your live points. Schaufler with that 20-point lead. Interested to see how Rocco Coronel gets on as well there in 3rd. Craigie Salo and Costoya have all made this final, of course. But it could all get thrown wide open. You know, we don't wish ill on any driver, but if there was to be a problem for Nicolas Schaufler, you know, that's going to open the door for others, including, I think, our pole sitter. You know, he may be some, 70 points back. But again, if there's problems for those further up the road and Costoya can continue the form that we've seen him on, he could get himself right in the title fight as we go towards Kristenstad. Here's Ian Kraling. No top 10 in a final so far this year for Kraling. He's been getting points on the board. He's 9th in the championship points leading into this race. And yeah, it could be a bit of a dark horse. I think the pressure's off for Kraling in this one because he's not absolutely in that championship fight right now.
No, exactly that. So we'll have to see what happens. There you can see some of the seniors looking on. Of course, they're interested to see how this junior race goes because there is a handful of drivers in this junior category that next year could be stepping up into the seniors. So, you know, it's just that brings in a factor. They want to eye up the competition that may be coming their way. There is Noah Baglin, Filippo Sala, and our race director Martin Bean having a quick chat. We saw earlier on that Noah Baglin has fixed on his wagon a small little teddy bear. I've not asked the question of what the teddy bear's name is, but he has got one attached to the front nose of his car. I don't know if it's still there either. It might still be there. But there is Baglin starting this one on the third row of the grid. Second place in his super hit earlier on. Really good effort and a win earlier on in the weekend as well. And that was straight after a disqualification in the first qualifying heat. He certainly came back strong.
Yeah, really good recovery from a difficult start to the weekend and bouncing back, having missed the final at Val d'Argenton as well for round 2. So good chance for Baglin to get more points on the board. He's currently 12th in the championship and is on that inside line going towards turn number 1. Alongside him on that third row is another Briton, Roman Kamiab. There is Roman Kamiab, third final in a row for the driver of the number 25 Ricky Flynn Motorsports machine. Very consistent scoring across the year so far, and we've seen some really good race pace from the Ricky Flynn Motorsport drivers this weekend.
Yeah, we really have. They have been on it. Setup has been dialed in. Of course, them running on the Lando Norris chassis, one of the OTK products that have been deployed this weekend. There, Kenzo Craigie, another one of the Brits, just sitting a little further back in the order on this one, starting in kind of the mid-pack area on the 8th row of the grid, but certainly has been very quick this weekend. There's Filippo Sala. Really strong weekend for Filippo Sala, but the superheat didn't go his way, didn't finish within the top 10.
Yeah, the pace wasn't quite there earlier on this morning, but he can put that behind him now. He's got that fresh set of tyres. We've seen Sala be very good on fresh tyres so far this season, so hopefully this format for him will go back in his favour. 7th last time out at Val d'Argenton, so let's see if he can improve on that from the same starting position, of course, of 7th on the grid. Devin Waltz alongside on that 4th row there again. Nicolas Schaufler, what a big race this is. Driver who's been second in both of the finals so far this year, going to extend his championship lead, hopefully. Here is Devin Waltz. I've been really impressed with Devin Waltz this weekend. Anthony's been the lead driver for Forza Racing in what's been a very difficult weekend for Forza Racing. And, well, Devin's got his head down, got 8th on the grid for this final. And with it being a longer race as well, you never quite know how that's going to play into things. I know we know how these karts and how these drivers race over a 10 and 13 lap race, but this is, of course, being a lot longer. You never know. This could be Waltz's day.
Certainly could be. There's a quick look at the rain radar there on your screen. I don't think anything to be worried about. There's a little bit of precipitation way up in the north, but miles away from where we are right now, which means I think we've got a green light and we're good to go for a nice dry couple of finals. There you can see Sebastian Mins prepping himself, getting ready for this one. Again, Sebastian Mins, a driver who's not finished within the top 10 in the superheats this weekend, but a driver who has impressed so far over this season. You know, he's not scored any points so far apart from this round. This has been the first round he's scored points, 17 in the qualifying heats he scored, and 7 points in the superheat. So he's in a position to score some more points here as we get ready to go for this one. But as you can imagine, really tense time for a lot of these drivers as they get going for this one. It's the first time we're going to get a final at this track. That every driver that came into this weekend came into it with not a lot of knowledge of the circuit as well. It is a demanding circuit on a driver, and there you can see Oliver Kinmark. Now that is a driver who has impressed this weekend. We've been speaking about him a lot. He's been right up at that sharp end, hasn't he?
And this is a new experience for him, first final of the season for Oliver Kinmark. I think arguably biggest improver here this weekend based on what we've seen in Spain and in France earlier on in the season. And yeah, best of luck to the Swede. It should be a good race for him.
I think so, it will be indeed. There you can see the yellow light flashing in the bottom of your screen. You can see our race director, Martin Bean, on the gantry, ready to get the procedure started. This is the first final of the weekend, and it's the halfway point of the season. At this point, we've had two different final winners. Are we about to get a third? As the engines fire up, let's take you through the starting lineup. It is Christian Kostoya and Harrison Mackie on row number 1. Nicholas Schaufler and Arjen Kraling, they go from row 2. Noah Baglin and Roman Kamia both finishing second in their superheats earlier on. They start on the third row of the grid. Filippo Sala and Devin Waltz go from row 4. Then it's Sebastian Mins and Oliver Kinmark on row 5. That gives us our top 10. Rocco Coronel, a driver who sits third in the championship. He did win a final in this championship last time out at Val d'Argenton. Can he do it the same here from the 6th row of the grid? William Kalija, who was the pole sitter from qualifying, starts alongside. Daniel Kelleher and Jarrett Clark go from row 7 ahead of Kenzo Craigie and Jacopo Martinez on row number 8.
Into row number 9, Jack Eilif starts alongside Vladimir Vanikov. Scott Marsh and Andrea Mani completes the top 20 there on row number 10. Asher Oxteen and Boris Lazen start on row 11. Alfie Slater and Bosco Arias go from row number 12. Cara Furhand and Jensen Burnett start on row 13. They're ahead of Dean Hugendorn and Just Mulder. Sun Anzi is joined by the round 2 final winner in this category, Joel Pokler. They're on row number 15. Ili Christian and Iskender Sulfikari start on row 16. Luke Corder and Bruno Grick start on the penultimate row, row 17. It's a 36-cart field. The last 2 drivers to qualify through to this final are on row 18. It's Drew Waltz and Jesse Phillips.
Reminder then of the winners. Rocco Coronel, sorry, I'll correct myself. Rocco Coronel, winner at Valencia. It was Joel Pokler, winner at Val d'Argenton. But still, 2 different final winners in this championship. Are we about to see a third, maybe in the likes of Christian Kostoya? Harrison Mackie as well, who did his first appearance at Val d'Argenton in this championship, but here as well at the Slovakia ring, and scoring really good points in his first point scoring show here. Putting himself up to 10th in the championship standings.
The unpredictability of this category, of the top 10, only 2 drivers have finished in the top 10 in one of these finals so far this year for Champions of the Future 2024. Into the tram lines we go then. Are we good in racing? We've got yellow flags out, so
yeah, it's false start.
It will be a false start.
It is indeed. Well, they're toying with us there a little bit, so we'll have to watch them go round once more. And you know what, for some of them, I'm sure they won't mind that at all, because it gives them a little bit more time to get temperature in the tyres. Remember, there's brand new slick tyres that they're using. Everyone is on the same board here with the conditions that they've got and what they've been dealt with. They've all got brand new tyres, all on a rubbering in circuit. It's a dry circuit. They've got no drama in terms of wet conditions coming their way. It's looking good for a couple of fantastic finals. Welcome to all joining us from around the world. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or on motorsport.tv, welcome one and all of you to the Champions of the Future. This is the halfway point of the season, a really important part of it, and we were talking about it at the start of this weekend. Qualifying was going to be so important. It's whittled it down to this moment here, where we've got the likes of Kostoya, Mackie, Schaufler, Kraling, all in the front section of that race. Drivers have passed the red line on the track. They need to get formed up pretty sharpish here. Looks good at the front. Sala leaving a little bit of a gap there between himself and Baglin. But are we going? Yes, we are. Green flag and racing in the junior category. Down in towards turn 1. Great start for Kostoya, but look where Schaufler's gone. Down to P5. That is exactly what Kostoya wanted to happen from switching sides of that grid. Krailing's got up into 2nd place. He stayed there. It looks like everything's gone well at the front, but not at the back of the grid. It is drama at the back of the grid, and it looks like a handful of drivers have been caught out there in the form of Jacopo Martinez, I think, got caught out. Vladimir Vanikov got caught out. Boris Lysin is off there, and Sana Z. And you can see there Lysin out of the kart. Hopefully he is okay. Sanaz's kart being pulled to safety, but the rest of the race continues as they dive in towards turn 12 for the first time. It is still Kostoya who leads the way as they make their way into the final corner. Keep an eye on 3rd place and keep an eye on Schaufler as they head across the line.
Time is not to panic. Oh, it's out are 2 more drivers. It's Jesse Phillips who started at the back of the field has gone. I think William Kalesia has had problems as well, and Josh Miller and Jarrett Clark. So a number of drivers who've excelled through the heats. Clark, Martinez and Leisen are names that particularly jump out at me there. Anthony will not get good finals. It ends on lap number 1. Here goes Kraling though. Oh no, thought he was going to go for the lead there into turn number 7. Thinks better of it. Roman Kamyab's had a good start as well, is there in 3rd. Harrison Mackie trying to get on top of things at the moment there in 4th. Struggled maybe a little bit in terms of dry condition pace. Change for 2nd. Kamyab past Kraling. Bit of a gap now for Kostoya. Is this an opportunity for him to break away? We saw him do that in the super heats earlier on this morning. Noah Baglin looking quite racy as well there in the red, white and green Prema Racing entry, and down the inside goes Baglin on championship leader Nicholas Schaufler. Nice move there for 5th place.
Well, this is good stuff. I mean, Schaufler doesn't need to be too worried here. Yes, he would like to win this final if he could do so. But in terms of his championship, you know, he'll still lead it, even in this position, by 50 points ahead of Van Langendonk. There's no worry about that. It's just a case of keeping it there, you know, at the moment. Keeping it right at the front there, pushing himself forward. He doesn't want to get swamped into the pack. Here's a replay of that start then. Initially through here, great start from the outside line then, because of course they got the jump. You can see there Mackie right round the outside of Nicholas Schaufler, whereas Schaufler on the live feed there is starting to go for the moves. The move's still happening. Here's the replay. Now what happened for some of the drivers? There you can see Phil going through, and yeah, drivers having to just take to the grass and going oh so close to that camera. But yeah, that was such a scrappy run through turn number 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indeed. There you see Boris Leisen out of the race, desperately trying to get back on circuit, but that will go no further. That was a separate incident that took Jesse Phillips out of the race, and Jensen Burnett, you saw there, the number 18 Fusion Motorsport. All of the drivers have got going, so it's 4 out. Leisen, Burnett, Sunanzi and Jesse Phillips. Back at the front of the order, it's still Kostoya from Kamyab, Kraling there in 3rd, Mackie 4th, Baglin 5th. Remember, it's 50 championship points for winning one of these races, 44 for P2, 38 for 3rd place. And then counting down, it's the top 15 who score championship points. If it's 16th or lower, it's nothing from this final. We're on to lap number 5. Still very much this finding phase of the race. Where are all the drivers? How are they performing on slick tyres, on new slick tyres? First time they've done that, of course, since timed qualifying earlier on in the weekend, when it was very different conditions to what we've got now. It was slightly drizzly. It was difficult for them. This might be the first time that a number of these drivers have experienced new tyres in the heat with a rubbered-in track. It's all those little factors that can start to come to play in the final.
Certainly is. Those factors do come in. There's Baglin going for a move down the inside. Wheel to wheel now with Mackie. Mackie's not going to say no to that one. He will slam the door closed. And Baglin tries again on the exit of 15, but he'll have to concede the spot. And he communicates there with Mackie, saying, fine, go, go, go. But, you know, if Mackie starts to defend from Baglin again, well, I wouldn't expect to see Mackie do that. But we'll have to see what happens as the race continues. We're on lap 6 of 22. At the moment, and still no change between the top 12 out there. Rocco Coronel has got himself back into 13th place. This is a replay. Nicholas Schaufler on an attack on Noah Baglin. That didn't work out. Oh dear, a big hit on that rear bumper there for Sebastian Mins. That allowed Sala to close in, and then the 2 Ricky Flynns went wheel to wheel in towards turn number 1. And then through, very nicely done for Devon Waltz.
I'll tell you what, Nicholas Schaufler is very lucky. There was nothing he could do about that, but he's very lucky to still have his rear bumper attached to the kart. If it was to come loose, it would be almost a definite mechanical flags. Alfie Slater's coming through the field, Anthony, 11 spots. We saw him take a win in the qualifying heats yesterday in somewhat spectacular fashion. He dodged a good old commentary curse from ourselves to take a victory. But down the inside goes Baglin on Mackie. Well, we've seen that move coming from Baglin. That's good for 4th place. Now Baglin sets about trying to chase down Arjen Kraling. Arjen Kraling running on similar machinery, of course. Both of these chassis Kart Republic base, trailing for the Works team. There are your live scores in the bottom right corner of your screens. Schaufler's advantage is, down the inside goes Craigie, getting another position there. I think that was on Sebastian Mins for 8th place. And here comes Scott Marsh as well. Scott Marsh improving all the time. Well, we saw in this category a Tony Kart win last time out at Val d'Argenton. That was a bit of a surprise to many folks here. Could we see another one with a big drive from that driver there in the number 73, Scott Marsh?
Yep, that is certainly very true. Back here with a battle for second place now. Kamiab is dropping off the back of Kostoya, and Kraling is closing in here. Ian Kraling might have a chance to really gain some time here, but he needs to get past Kamiab sooner rather than later. You can see how much he's closed in now, right on the rear bumper as they head into the braking zone of turn 11. Is he going to go for it here through 12? No. Thinks against it, not close enough for the attack, but he certainly needs to think about making this move sooner rather than later, because like you say, the trouble that he's got now is that if he latches onto the back of Kamiab, he might start matching his pace, and at the moment Kamiab is losing time to Kostoya.
And Kamiab's having to work really hard mid-corner. You can see him fidgeting at the steering wheel, trying to keep the front end in check. Krayling's looking calm. Krayling's looking a lot smoother at this stage of the race. Baglan trying to close in as well. Last time around 52.3 is down the inside. Here goes Krayling. 4P2, lovely move by the German. Now he can set about trying to close down Christian Kostoya. The gap is 1.4 seconds as it stands, and Bagling closing in all the while. As dear, out of the race.
Oh, is that Kinmark?
It's Kinmark indeed, and Sebastian Mins. So Sebastian Mins' terrible luck in these finals continues.
That's a big hit.
And that's off at turn number 7. Hope everybody is okay down there, but what a disappointment for Oliver Kinmark. The form that we've seen him on this weekend deserved a lot more than he's going to get in this final.
Yeah, that is a big shame for both drivers. Two well-known names in this paddock out of this final on lap number 10. Drivers will be coming into yellow flags. I think they are cleared relatively quickly. Oh, there are still yellows going into the corner here. So yeah, driver still now all in a safe place. Good to see that Mins is out the kart there, which is fantastic to see. Yeah, obviously not much runoff there, so they are quick to a barrier, but luckily it is a nice squishy one that they've got at that hairpin, but a very scary moment for the drivers. Back to this battle here, and Baglan just at the back of it now as they're all starting to concertina up. Is this a replay of that accident? Yeah, let's see it. Sebastian Mins then and Oliver Kinmark. Kinmark's on the inside, and then, now does Kinmark get helped there by the kart behind into Sebastian Mins? And yeah, I think that reaction from Kinmark is yes, I was hit from behind and I was pushed into Sebastian Mins there. Well, we'll have to see what happens later on if there's a warning flag that comes out for a driver.
Indeed, 52.104, new fastest lap of the race from Rocco Coronel. Rocco Coronel, who in these longer races has good form of being strong in the second half of them. That was a big part of his win at Valencia for round number 1. As Baglan down the inside of Kamiab, that's for 3rd place. Another decisive move there from Noah Baglan. And Kamiab right now, again, he doesn't look comfortable at all to me right now, Anthony, at the wheel of the kart. He's trying his best, but right now, whatever's wrong there at the wheel of the number 25, it's affecting him and dropping in positions.
Yep, certainly is. Through turn 2 they go again. Fantastic shot there on the exit of turn 2, really showing the speed the drivers carry through the corner. And right here, right now, we are seeing some close battles here. Now Baglan there in 3rd place is trying to close in on Kraling. Kraling himself has not been able to match the pace of Kostoya here. The gap's opened up to 1.9 seconds. That's a further 0.5 of a second that he's lost on Kostoya in the lead. We are only half race distance of this race. There is still time for that gap to come down. It's up to 2 seconds. And we have seen this before in the past where, you know, a driver's broken away and done what he's needed to do. Bosco Arias sees a warning flag. Now, Bosco Arias is in 15th place. Was that around the same sort of place these drivers were? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know if that is part of that same incident that we saw at turn number 7. But still watching this one. Grayling controlling this second place battle, but I think Baglin wants a chance of leading it and see if he can close up to Kostoya.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he can continue this pace. As you say, Anthony, still a long way in this one to go. More than a third of the race. 2.2 seconds is now the gap. And here goes Baglin down the inside. It's a repeat move. It's exactly the same one, but this time Grayling fights back. He's going to be on the outside now for turn 14, then 15. Kamyab fights back as well, trying to reclaim third place. But Baglin is now into second place. This next lap is key, Anthony, to see if Baglin's got that pace to close down Kostoya.
And look who's closed back in as well. It is current championship leader Nicholas Schaufler, who has closed back in now here at the Slovakia ring. Can he try and get past at this stage of the race? I mean, it's easy to get it done on one driver through here, but he's got 3 drivers ahead of him here. Jack Idaho sees a warning flag. Big send there for Schaufler as he goes through on Kamyab. So that's the first driver out of the way. 2 more to go in this pack, and then he can try and close in on Kostoya. But that gap now is 3 seconds ahead of this fight here, with Baglin and Grayling still fighting as they go through in towards the final corner. We will finish lap number 14 and we go on to lap 15 now. Baglin, who's currently gained 3 places in this race, is on fine form. The only question is that can he close that gap up to the race lead? The answer right now with the current sector times is no. So will it be Schaufler or will it be Grayling?
Indeed. Well, I've got to say with Schaufler, this is a really determined drive. Sometimes in a championship run, it's not about the days where you're 3-4 seconds down the road. It's the tough days where you've got to scrap and fight for every position and every point. And every time he gets an overtake in, he's further extending his championship lead. Jacopo Martinetti out of contention in this race, was one of the drivers involved in that first lap incident. Has just set the fastest lap of the race. Very alive points. Coronel's starting to come up through the order as well. You can just see him in the background there, the flash of orange. Coronel is now up to second place in those live points, but it's a 50-point deficit for behind Schaufler, rather. That would be a big advantage for Schaufler heading towards Kristianstad for round number 4. We're on lap 16 of 22. Kostoya continuing to extend this lead. It's a 10th here, it's a 10th there, but it's continuing to go in the right direction for the Spaniard. Best result so far in the season for Kostoya was a 13th in a final last time out at Val d'Argenton. He's in much better form than that. He's been in much better form than that for the whole season. It's just not been gone his way so far in these longer races. Round to complete another lap. Is there any sign from Baglin that he can start to close in? Well, he's starting to. It's the last sector. The last sector, Christian Kostoya is absolutely flying. For sectors 1 and 2, they're fairly evenly matched, but Kostoya is able to put a 10th and a half on the rest of the field through that last technical part of the course. Now means his lead is 3.5 seconds.
Certainly is. Really strong performance here for Kostoya, and that plan of him starting on, you know, that normal racing line, and that's another massive send for Schaufler on Ian Grayling. Now Grayling's having to fend off Kamyab. Kamyab's been swamped. Look who's come through. It's Scott Marsh. Scott Marsh on an absolute charge here. Kenzo Craigie's there with Harrison Mackie. Kamyab's gone down. Filippo Sala just in the background. Coronel is closing in as well. Rocco Coronel is in P10 as Kamyab goes back down the inside. Sala follows through, and as soon as Kenzo Craigie gained positions, he's now just lost them again. But Rocco Coronel, that's impressive. With that position, Coronel goes up to second in the championship. Van Langendonk, now with not being in this final, goes down to third in the championship standings.
And if you Rocco Coronel, again, just trying to keep a bit of scoreboard pressure on those around you. Every position is key. I've got to say, bravo, Scott Marsh. That was a brilliant piece of driving last lap through turn number 9. He just held back a little bit on the throttle. You know, he could punch it here and gain 2 or 3 positions as a result of that. And once again, Tony Kart in the final, having a bit of a better showing of it than through the qualifying heats and the super heats. Marsh now up into the top 5. And where did he start? He started on the 10th row of the grid with Scott Marsh. This is a tremendous run from him there in the 73. Change just behind as well. Sala's got past Kamyab for 6th place. Jack Arliff's also gained a spot. Has passed Daniel Kelleher for 12th place after that bright start for Alfie Slater. He has faded back. I don't know whether there's been a problem for the number 27 there. Has just gained another spot back up past Jarrett Clark to P21.
Yes, indeed. Well, Marsh will continue to watch his progress right behind Ian Kraling, not able to get that move done just as of yet, still right there behind, but certainly working very, very strong, the two of them. Now, Schaufler has been given the clean air now, just that little bit. He can go to work and see if he can close in on Baglin, but Baglin is a fair bit ahead. The same can be said for this man here, race leader Christian Kostoya, who has no idea what's going on behind him right now. He is 3.6 seconds further up the road as we go on to lap 20 here out of 22. This has been honestly a masterclass of a weekend for Christian Kostoya. Like we were saying, not had great point scoring opportunities at the last round at Val d'Argenton, but really this weekend he's looking for maximum points. And you know, it is difficult to get maximum points here as Scott Marsh makes that move for P4 on Ian Kraling in the background there. Nicely done for Scott Marsh as he moves up another position. But back to Kostoya, it's not easy to get a full maximum point scoring opportunity, especially at a track that is new on the calendar, has not got a lot of data on it or anything like that, and is really showing strong, especially with the fact that there's a lot of local drivers that have entered into this weekend, and he's beaten all of them.
He has indeed. It's really been a class act so far this weekend, and I think it's a deserving performance as well based on the hard work that he's put in across the course of 2024. We could be on as well for three different winners so far in these finals. 3 different chassis manufacturers winning as well from the finals so far. There's Baglin in 2nd place. His results would give him 44 points, would pull him into the top 10, well into the top 10 of the championship standings before we head to Sweden for round number 4. But this really is the story, I think, from this weekend, that Nicholas Schaufler, you know, continuing this consistency, hasn't had a win in a final so far this year, but at the moment he doesn't need to have a win in a final because he is putting a big score on the board that he can hopefully defend for his own target campaign once we get to round 4. We are on the final lap. Christian Kostoya, well, 3 qualifying heat wins, started his weekend. No results worse than 3rd through the qualifying heats, and then that super heat win to boot. This has been a tremendous weekend for this young talent from Spain and for Paralym Motorsport, coming through turn number 11 now. He's been unchallenged, really, since the start of Saturday morning. He's got into his stride. He's taken these races by storm. He's beaten the stormy conditions this weekend as well. Christian Kostoya wins in Slovakia and takes 50 championship points, elevates himself to 5th in the standings. A tremendous performance from him and Paralym Motorsport. One of the most dominant victories we've seen this year.
It certainly is, and you can see there from his reaction, he is absolutely delighted. So Nicholas Schaufler, just going past there on your screen, does still lead the championship by quite some way now ahead of Rocco Coronel. But like you were saying, that is 3 different final winners in 3 different rounds, and with just a few left to go, well, we just don't know what's going to happen.
What a win indeed. There's your provisional result. Kostoya by 3.9 ahead of Noah Baglin. Nicholas Schaufler on the podium again. That's 3 podiums in a row for the Austrian, as I say. Extends his championship lead, takes the championship lead here this weekend, and puts a good margin between himself and the rest of the competition. Marsh and Kraling also in the top 5. Kamyab, Coronel, Mackie, Waltz and Craigie all score good points in the top 10. Also scoring points, Jack Arliff, Daniel Kelleher, Filippo Sala, Bosco Arias and Andrea Mani. Outside the points in the final today, Vladimir Ivanikov, Kara Furhand, Just Mulder, Drew Waltz and Alfie Slater can all settle for a top 20. William Kalesia in P21. Jarrett Clark, Jacopo Martinezzi, Luke Cornder, Iskender Sulfikari and Bruno Grick all had problems in that race. A number of retirements, a bit of attrition there in that final. Joel Poccola couldn't repeat the feat from Val d'Argenton, retired 1 lap from the end. Sebastian Mins, Oliver Kinmark, Dean Hugendorn, Oscar Oxteen, Illy Christian, Boris Leisen, Jensen Burnett, Sananzi and Jesse Phillips all did not see the end of the race. Here are your highlights. Key decision even before the race. Costoya switching to the outside, knowing that you can run from the outside here in dry conditions at the Slovak Karting Centre, and he nailed it. It was absolutely perfect. Followed through by Kraling and by Kamyab as well. There was drama at the back. Jarrett Clark running wide. Jacopo Martinezzi in the background there turned around, would be able to get back into the race, but out of it would go Boris Leisen, Jensen Burnett, Sunanzi and Jesse Phillips on the first lap across. 2 incidents. There is the scene of Jesse Phillips and Jensen Burnett's end of their finals here in Slovakia. Roman Kamyab quick early on, went down the inside of Arjen Kraling for P2. But there would be problems later on for Kamyab. Baglin looking feisty as well, getting past Schaufler there. Schaufler trying to return the favour into turn 14. But Baglin would keep racing on and then start picking off the drivers one by one. Bit of a scary moment there for Sebastian Mins, clipping the rear of the number 33. That allowed Filippo Sala to get down the inside, and Devin Waltz as well has had a good weekend for Forza Motorsport. At this point, it really did look like Nicolas Schaufler was in a bit of trouble, but he fought back. This is what champions do sometimes. It remains to be seen whether Nicolas Schaufler will be champion in 2024, but if he does, he'll look at this drive as one of the key ones across the course of the year. He fought back through position by position. Noah Baglin continued his progress. This was him getting down the inside of Harrison Mackie on lap 7. That was for 4th. Then he would set about the drivers ahead. Kenzo Craigie was in the points again, 10th in the end for the Primo Racing driver. That was him getting past Sebastian Mins. Mins's race would not go his way. Scott Marsh impressive as well on a run for Tony Colt, which would take him up to 4th. This is the part of the race where Kamyab, handling-wise, the number 25 didn't look happy at all. Driver and car didn't look happy with one another. He'd start to slip down. That was the moment where we lost Sebastian Mins and Oliver Kinmark, unfortunately, from this final. Most importantly, both of them okay. Kinmark clearly unhappy, felt he was encouraged into that one. Thankfully, Sebastian Mins was also okay. That's how we had a problem for Alfie Slater. Alfie Slater had a great start, but a problem through turn 3 and 4 meant that Slater would slip down the order, would fight back into the top 20, but again, it would be a miss for points for Slater. Unfortunately, deserved a lot more this weekend. Good scrap between Baglin and Kraling. This was for 2nd place. Kraling trying to fight back. Kamyab wrestling all the way, trying to nip back into 3rd place, but not on this occasion. Here's another view of it at the end of lap number 13, around turn 14 and 15. There you see Nicolas Schaufler as well, getting himself back into it, knowing every position was going to count for championship points, and this great opportunity to pull away from Dries van Langendonk in the championship standings, with Van Langendonk not in this race. That's how we got past Kraling, got past Kamyab as well. In the end, would race through to 3rd place. This was a great bit of driving from Scott Marsh, just picking his way through past Kamyab and past Mackie. Craigie would try and follow as well. Kamyab back down the inside of Craigie, allowing his teammate Sala through there. That was into the last quarter of this race. And Ricky Flynn Motorsport, I think we can be pleased with the work that they've done here. And of course, they'll be preparing for future races as well with what they've learned here this weekend. But it was Costoya's day. It was Costoya's weekend. A tremendous performance. 5 wins in total across all of the qualifying heats, the super heat, but most importantly, the final. He's a dark horse, I think, for the championship. He is very much in that battle for the top 5, and you never know, with this kind of form, where he could finish. He's a good way back from the championship leader, but it is not impossible at all. The championship scores, should stress, of course, a provisional result look like this at the moment. Nicolas Schaufler on 214, Rocco Coronel on 172, Dries van Langendonk slips from the lead at the start of the weekend. No points at all. and stays there in third on 156. Craigie is fourth on 147. Fifth for Kostoya now, as I say, a big haul of points this weekend for Kostoya on 138. He's 1 point ahead of Sala. That in terms of realistic championship opportunities, I think that's it, because there's a big drop then down to Kraling and Baglin 7th and 8th. But they'll still be pushing on, knowing they can score well when we go to Sweden in mid-July. Well, a good race there for the OK Junior category. A few of the drivers getting a lift back to Parc Fermé. Still one more race to come this afternoon, of course. The OK final still to come, and that's going to be a pulsating race as well, I'm sure. A very strong field of drivers at the front end in particular. Lots of drivers on form. Very difficult to pick a winner from that. But that's all to come. We'll be having the thoughts with Anthony Jordan in a short while. But keep it locked here. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast on your platform of choice, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Facebook or motorsport.tv. For now, though, let's head down to Anthony Jordan and the podium ceremony.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Down here after a very hectic 22 laps in the OK Junior category. Please welcome onto the podium, finishing in third place, your new championship leader from Austria. It's Nicholas Schaufler. In second position, representing the United Kingdom, give it up, it's Noah Baglin. And finally, your race winner and third different final winner of the championship. Give it up for Spain's Christian Kostoya. And to represent the Parolin team, please welcome onto the podium, Marco Parolin. We will now listen to the national anthem of Spain. Well, give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for your top three in the OK Junior category. We'd now like to welcome onto the podium from Maxis Tyres, Rob Van Es, to present the winners' trophies to the top three. And firstly, to third places, Nicholas Schaufler. The second place trophy to the United Kingdom's Noah Baglin. And the winner's trophy to Spain's Christian Kostoya. And of course, not forgetting, of course, all the hard work that goes to the teams as well. The winner's trophy for the team, Marco Parolin, to receive this trophy. All brilliant stuff. Drivers, nice big smiles for all the photographers out there. Trophies nice and high up in the air as well, above your heads if possible. I know they're heavy trophies, but nice big smiles, drivers, for all the photographers out there. And then we'll ask for everyone to jump up on that top step of the podium as well. Jump in nice and close, guys. Get all up on that top step of the podium. And once again, nice big smiles for all of the photographers out there. Again, a fantastic round here at the Slovakia Ring, the Slovak Karting Centre, certainly proving itself as a mighty venue to go racing. We now get ready for probably the favourite part of the weekend for our drivers. Marco, feel free to duck and cover at this point. You probably don't want to be around for this bit. Drivers, trophies on the floor. You can take those bottles now. You can relax as we head to Sweden next. It is time. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. It is champagne! Well, Costoya runs off. Schaffler and Baglin remain on the podium. Fantastic stuff for our top 3 drivers. Let's jump in very quickly. I want to have a quick chat with Christian Costoya. Christian, just stay right there for me. Come on round. And, well, what a race that was. Is that fun? Is that a bit fizzy for you?
It was an incredible race. I don't have voice to speak about the races. I don't know, I just tried to do my best, manage the tires. It was a lot of laps. When I see I have a lot of space, I just do my best and take this victory.
Yeah. You move up to 5th in the championship now. We've got a couple rounds left to go. Are you looking forward to them? Do you reckon you could come away with maybe a championship win at the end of this one?
Yeah, if we take this constantly and this, try to do good races, everything is possible in the championship.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, well done. Give it up once again, ladies and gentlemen, for your OK Junior finalists. Well, perfect stuff. Andrew, we've got one more race to go. We'll head back up to you. Seniors, coming up next.
Thank you very much, Anthony, indeed. Seniors are up next here at the Slovak Karting Centre, the OK Final, the longest race of the weekend, 26 laps, 30.5 kilometres in length, and this is sure to be another very exciting chapter in the story of this season, which has seen the championship lead change. Here's your details on what we're dealing with here. Drivers aged 14 and above. We started the weekend with 74 entries from 32 nations. We remain with the top 36 drivers who've raced through 5 rounds of qualifying heats and super heats earlier on today. 125cc displacements for the OK category, around 39 horsepower for the drivers out there to propel themselves around this circuit. 150 kilogram minimum weight, including the driver, the cart, the same as the OK Junior category without the fuel, weighing 70 kilograms. Top line racing here for direct drive, single speed geared driving. Here are your tyres for this weekend. It's the Maxxis Prime for the OK category. The wets were in use as well earlier on this weekend. They had 2 sets of those for the entire weekend. 6 dries across the qualifying heats and the super heats. But for this final, it is a brand new set of Maxxis Primes on all of the karts in this race. As we say, top 36 from the final intermediate classification have raced through this one, this circuit that opened in 2020. Lap record set earlier on in the weekend by that young driver there at the front of the field, Jindřich Peschel, in the timed qualifying earlier on this weekend. There are your championship scores after 2 rounds, obviously in full at Valencia and Val d'Argenton, and the 2 hauls of points so far this weekend from the qualifying heats and the super heats. Your new championship leader is Thibaut Ramekers. He's on the 2nd row for this one. He has a lead there on 173 points ahead of the driver who started the weekend at the top of the table. Zach Drummond has added points to his tally. It's up to 158 now, but he'll be looking to strike back in this final. Gabriel Gomez had a slow start to the weekend, but has picked up in terms of race pace, especially here in the dry conditions. He's 3rd in the championship at the moment on 134. Jindřich Peschel has soared into 4th place with a full complement of points from this weekend so far. He's 4th there on 129. Don't count out Joe Turney as well there. 5th place, 109 points on the board at the moment for the Briton. He's at the sharp end of the field for this one. Finn McLaughlin is in the mix also on 96 points so far. He had an inspired call on tyre choice in one of his qualifying heats earlier on this weekend. No need for any of that magic in this one. It's quite clear. It's dry tyres all the way for our 36 runners. Anthony Jordan rejoins me in the box here at the circuit. Conditions out there, we've got the comfort of an air-conditioned room right now, but how's it feeling out there on circuit?
It's no different to in this room. It's lovely out there. It's absolutely fantastic. Air temperature around 21 degrees. The sun is poking through the clouds now and then. There's a nice coolish breeze. It's a perfect day for racing, I think, compared to the weather that we have had over the last couple of days and, of course, overnight with lightning storms and all sorts of crazy weather. Right now, it's a beautiful day. Well, yesterday and the day before that was fantastic. This morning, though, was even better. Here's some of the highlights from that race. It all started very well in the starting day for all of the seniors, and Jiri Peschel, who certainly had the best opportunity to come away with maximum points, started on pole, but Thibaut Ramekes certainly had something to say about that one as he ploughed his way through the field. Peschel did have points in the bag, though. He knew he could start on pole, but it would have been Thibaut Ramekes taking the first win of the Superheat phase of the weekend. Superheat 2 for the seniors, and this saw Kai Rillarts, who had the opportunity to start on pole for this final. All he had to do was win this race. Unfortunately, though, that didn't go his way, with Montero getting the lead on the opening lap. Drama would come for many more drivers, so many drivers getting knocked out of this race and not being able to take part in the final. There was the lead change, and there was the win. Noah Montero taking it all the way to the end, but that would mean that Jiri Peschel would start on pole, with Kai Rillarts starting alongside.
Absolutely. Well, that was the action earlier on this morning. What is the next part of the story here for the OK category? When we were talking about the OK Junior category, Anthony, we were talking about how it's been very chop and change. You know, we only had 2 drivers in the top 10 on the grid who'd already got top 10s this season. The story here, complete opposite. You look through the best results of the drivers in the top 4 rows. All of them have had at least a top 10. There's a number of them who've had wins and podiums. This has got all the elements, all the ingredients for a really competitive race.
It certainly does. Jiri Peschel here, who's starting on pole position with a fantastic weekend of racing, winning all but one of his qualifying heats. P5 was his worst result he had this weekend. Pole in qualifying outright and starting on pole for this one. As you can see, he is on the outside going into turn 1 there. So just like we saw in the juniors, some more switching of sides. Confirmation there of Peschel will swap sides on the grid. That gives the likes of Kai Rillarts the inside line. And crucially, again, I think this is a carbon copy of what we're seeing there. Who was starting on the inside of row number 2? Joe Turney, and I think it's exactly why he switched sides.
There's a little bit of irony with that, because we're starting to see this become more of a trend in 2024, and arguably the driver who started this at a race a few weeks ago that we were commentating on, Anthony, was Joe Turney.
Turney, yes, exactly.
So it's interesting how people have picked up on that one.
But it's not all plain sailing now, because we'll talk about why it's not all plain sailing a little bit later. There is Kai Rillarts, who's just found a water bottle somewhere inside of his race suit. Not sure where he picked that one out from, but yeah, he's got it in his hand now. Having a quick chat with Joe Turney about the plan maybe of what's going on. I think Joe Turney's just say, hey, you do what you want to do. I'm just going to follow you, maybe not follow you and maybe get past at some point. We're not too sure. But yeah, certainly a very, very interesting situation that these drivers got ahead of them now. Because Rillarts has been liking starting on that inside line, hasn't he? Yes, okay, he won't be fully alongside. He'll have to have Jiri Peschel just ahead going in towards turn 1. But he has got the benefit of having the inside line covered off.
Yeah, and he's looked really cool and calm this weekend as Kai Rillarts. There's some great work by the Sodi Kart team. Now, that's interesting. That is the grid slot where we should be seeing Matheus Morgado in the 218, and quite clearly, he is not there. That is a driver who finished 5th at Val d'Argenton, is currently in the top 8 in the point standings. I'm not sure what the reason is for Morgado not being on the grid, but that's our first bit of drama. The former world champion does not take the start in this one. Here's a driver starting 3rd on the grid, Joe Turney, currently 5th in the points. 109 points accumulated so far for him. He's got a very good record, of course, in this championship. He's got his teammate immediately behind him, Noah Montero. And, say, 2nd place last time out at Val d'Argenton for Joe Turney in a really good battle that we saw with Thibaut Ramekes on that day. It's going to be interesting to see those two go wheel to wheel again. because alongside Joe Turney on that second row of the grid is the winner from France. There he is, Thibaut Ramicus. I think the worry for the rest of the field, though, Anthony, is Thibaut Ramicus has got a bit of a trend so far in 2024 when we've seen him race, which is he's always quick, but he just gets quicker and quicker and quicker as the season goes on. And something just turned yesterday, I thought. It got into the rhythm of this circuit. Again, it's a new one to a lot of the drivers, and he's been pretty dominant ever since. He's still got work to do, of course. He's got to get past his countryman, Kyra Lutz, ahead of him on that front row, and Jindřich Peschel. But yeah, it's one of those races again where if it was a betting man, I might put my money on Ramicus here. Here's your grid then for the final in OK. It's Jindřich Peschel and Kyra Lutz on row 1, Joe Turney and Thibaut Ramicus row 2, Noah Montero and Scott Lindblom in his first final at this level on row 3. Mateus Morgato does not take the start on row 4. Finn McLaughlin is on his own on that one. Jimmy Elias and Andrea Dupe start on row 5. Lewis Wewell and Vivek Canton on row 6. Zach Drummond and David Cosmo Christopher start on row 7, ahead of Anatoly Khavalkin and Leo Nielsen on row 8. The first half of the field is completed by row 9, Salim Hanar and Dmitry Matviev.
On the next row of the grid for that one, it is Elliot Kaczynski, who finished 9th in his superheat. We'll have Gabriel Gomez starting alongside, who starts this one 20th place for the Italian licensed Brazilian. In the middle of the pack, Louis Iglesias and Miguel Costa go from row 11, ahead of Alexander Bondarev and Mark Dubnitsky on row 12. Michael Adair and Lewis Francis round out the top 26 on row 13. Muro De Roca and George Avramides go from row 14. Andy Consani and Luna Flusha round out the top 30 on row 15. There is Adam Garcia and Guy Alberghino on row 16. Hugo Ramanti and Matteo Giaccardi round out row number 17, ahead of Jacob Rashke and Sebastiano Pavan, who just squeaks it through to the back of the grid for this final, despite the fact that it was right at the back of the grid for qualifying.
Yeah, was disqualified for being underweight. There's a view into race control. David Manchester in the centre, Joanna Falcao and Sarah Blanco looking over all of the cameras and all of the information. And you'll hear the voice of David Manchester as well on the RGMMC radio with all of those key notifications.
I think Joanna and Sarah Blanco were very well aware that they'll hear his voice on the live stream and certainly make it very well known to him as well. There we go then, drivers making their way round to finish their formation lap again. Hard-working marshals just at the side there. We could not go racing without the dedicated marshalling team that has been out there all weekend doing an absolutely fantastic job. We do take our hats off to the marshalling team, to every single circuit that we head to on the calendar in 2024. Like we were saying, it is Sweden next on the calendar. We head to Kristianstad for round 4 of the championship. Again, it's a new circuit for me, not a new circuit for probably some of these drivers, but certainly we are looking forward to it. But we'll talk about that later on, because right now it is the final time here at Slovakia. There's your virtual championship. It's Ramicus who leads from Drummond, Gomez, Peschel, Turney and McLaughlin. Could that change at the end of this final? In through the final corner we go. Are we going first time of asking? The answer is yes, we are. We are away and racing, and it's a great start from the outside row. Lindblom covers off and gets past Ramicus, moves up into second place. That is a superb start for the driver who started P6. He is into second place already. Peschel breaks away in the early stages. Rillarts is there in P4 at the moment. Turney's there in P5. Noah Montero in P6, and it looks like it is Finn McLaughlin who's got up into P7. It is a good getaway for the entirety of the grid. I think everyone's got through cleanly, but it's a good start for Peschel in the lead.
Yeah, Peschel got that absolutely spot on. It was not a good start at all for Kai Rillarts on the inside from second on the grid. Ramicus already looking pretty racy there, looking for a way past Lindblom, because he knows with the form that Jindřich Peschel is in this weekend, he cannot afford to let the Czech driver get too far ahead. There's a yellow flag in the background through Marshal Post 7. We'll monitor that in a moment. I think Anatoly Khavalkin and Salim Hanar have had a problem because they've fallen down to the bottom of the order on timing and scoring. There is that Kubarajski in trouble? Yes, it is. So poor Kubarajski is having a difficult season. Is back in this race, but well out of contention.
Yeah, that is a big shame. He was already starting this race on the back of the grid. He'll even be further back now than that. This is your lead battle here at the moment. Yuri Peschel, Scott Lindblom, and Timo Ramekers. Ramekers here in a good position, down the inside. Thank you very much. Moves up into second place and pushes himself on now to try and close up. Oh my goodness. There is a huge coming together at turn number 11. Half of the grid, I'm going to call it there, is involved in that, and there's carts up on the side. Now, who is involved here? I think Bondarev, Kaczynski, Konsani, Flusha, Kavalkin, Dubnitsky, Marti, Garcia, De Rocca, Albag, and Jakub Raschke, I think, has just got past. But there you can see that is half the field that's gone through, and understandably, we are now under slow procedure. The race has been neutralised.
Yeah, that's got to be the right decision, because there's a number of drivers spread across the circuit trying to do their one allowed restart, and the field is coming round. That is an understandable call from race control. The first time we've seen this weekend. The race is stopped on lap number 3. The drivers involved in today: Bondarev, Kaczynski, Konsani, Flusha, Kavalkin, Dubnitsky, Marti, Garcia, Marilla De Rocca in there as well, Guy Albag. I mean, you saw it with Kuba Raisky coming through. Practically needed to come to a stop just to navigate his way through. So a prompt response there from the officials. There is Bondarev. Bondarev out of this race, or the driver who was second at Valencia, watching from the sidelines now.
Well, obviously, now that we are under a red flag procedure, there you can see the mechanics are all up on the wall there. Now they're trying to shout to their drivers to see what the condition of the karts are like, because obviously now they can get an opportunity to restart this. They can get back onto the grid if the karts aren't too heavily damaged. Of course, if there's anything that's wrong with the kart that can't be fixed within the time it takes to get this one restarted, there is an opportunity that we could get these drivers back on the grid. Now, we were on lap number 2 there, and there you can see there's a bit of hefty damage to quite a few of them. But I think to some of them, it's just a bit of a damaged nose cone here and there, maybe brackets come off or anything like that, and they can be replaced at this point on a red flag. Now, that is a big moment there, but that is so many drivers that got caught out in that, wasn't it? That was, I don't want to say half the field, but it was half the field pretty much that got caught up in one of probably the tightest turn on the circuit.
Absolutely. It's a very difficult corner to overtake. We did wonder at the start of the weekend, we talked to a few drivers about overtaking opportunities around this circuit and which ones were, good bets, which ones were, ones that you only really see on a Sunday, last lap of a final. And this was the one that a lot of the drivers were saying, in normal conditions, in a qualifying heat, you wouldn't go for it there. But when you're in that final, when you know you need to make up positions, you might see a bit of action. And I'd say those drivers, we won't mention who they were, but they were absolutely spot on with those predictions. The most important thing is, I'm pretty sure everybody is okay. It was a fairly slow speed incident for those towards the back of the field, just a case of nowhere for them to go. There you see Joe Turney having a quick chat with Darren Clark, Finn McLaughlin as well with Timo Ramekers. So they will go through the process of getting this race underway, of course. And Jimmy Elias joining the discussion there. He's had a really good weekend so far. Lost a couple of positions early on in that one. And the red flag, the incident that caused the red flag was on lap 2. So we'll await for instructions as to when we're going to count this one back to. Peschel was ahead of Ramekers, Lindblom, Turney, McLaughlin. In terms of championship and how that was shaking things out, Zach Drummond was in 10th place, so at that point Ramekers was extending his championship lead to 195 points over 164. Peschel was up into 3rd place. That's the thing with Peschel this weekend. If he can score this race victory, he really throws himself into the mix in terms of this championship.
He certainly does. Now, they're having a really good conversation there, the drivers. They're speaking with Darren Clark. Now, he's part of the scrutineering team out there. And obviously they're asking all sorts of questions that, well, he doesn't actually know the answer to at the moment. The person they need to be asking those questions to are, of course, race director Martin Bean. But Martin Bean is very busy at the moment trying to organise what is going to be happening with all of those karts that are stricken at turn number 11. Now, from what I would probably gather at this sort of point, what would usually happen, in fact, let's have a look at some of the highlights. Well, we'll go back to that. Let's have a look at the highlights of what happened up until that point. Great start for Scott Lindblom at the beginning of that, wasn't it? I mean, well timed, well executed, just squeezing up down the inside of Tibor Ramikers.
Yeah, he really got that inside line and that shot past Ramikers. Oh, another, not the first time we've seen a Kart Republic having a little hop over that curb and a quick hello with the camera. This was a great move from Ramikers down the inside into turn 12. Love that slow-mo shot there. This is what triggered. Right, so what's going to happen here? Bondarev's rear axle has been shoveled up into the air a little bit, and then, yeah, it's just a car park. Everybody else flying in. It looks like the M25 round London on a Friday night, and, yeah, that is how everyone's come to a stop at turn 11.
Yeah, that's certainly not great. And then you just got Kaczynski just there, just like, you can't park there, sir. And then he's trying to get out of the cart there a little bit. Thankfully, though, they look like they're all okay, which is the main thing. But crucially, look at that. That's just so many karts stuck there. Now, I think what's happening here is these mechanics are going to head out to, obviously, the track. You've got mechanics that need to head out to these karts here that are stalled because, of course, they're stopped now. They need a push start to get going. There is no button start on these karts. They are push start karts, so they are difficult for a driver to get going by themselves. Now, you've got the other karts that are involved in that incident. Now, they are being pulled into what is being called the repair area. These karts now, I believe, are going to be given around 15 minutes time from now to repair those karts and get them ready to put them back on the grid, because it was very early stages of the race. I think that's usually how it goes. Obviously, don't take my word for it on that one, but I suspect that's what's happening, which is why you're seeing so much running around there. You can see people heading for tools, repairing, and then, yeah, so these guys are going to have a quick chat and get themselves sorted out. I want to listen in. I want to be a fly on the wall. I think Martin's just telling the drivers, let's listen in.
15 minutes to do any repairs. If these guys want to go back into repairs, they have to say. But yeah. Yeah, there's 9 cars back there.
They're going to do the countdown over there, and then I'll stop it.
Yeah, so what we can clarify there, yeah, there is going to be 15 minutes of repair time. That clock will be started over there. That will give mechanics a bit of time to really sort out the karts, get them ready and get them back onto the grid. So there is going to be a lengthy wait before we get this race underway. Obviously, as you can imagine, all these drivers have questions. Let's listen in again and see what Martin's going to say.
No, you were first. Come on.
Can we go to repair?
Later.
Can we go to repair or not?
Can I?
Yeah. Sorry.
Guys, it's a bit of a tight one because you've done 2 laps, okay? So if you do 2 laps or less, it's a full restart. But you haven't. You do less than 2. So it's a single file restart.
Yes.
Guys, I haven't finished.
He's excited.
It's a single file restart of the grids that I have here, subject to any nose cone penalties that will be applied now, and then they're going to be re-gridded. The guys that have gone back there were in the accident. They have 15 minutes to do any repairs. Okay, so if your car is damaged, I'm going to allow you to go back there and do any repairs.
Why did I
But if it's
restart?
okay, you can stay where you are.
The only question is, if I go to,
No,
I take
it's
my
fine,
card, I go
no.
to repair, I can
Show
come
them
back
You
to
have
our
to be
position.
back here within that 15 minutes.
Okay, but we can come to our position.
Well, I tell you what, I certainly wouldn't want to be a race director. He says one word, and then all of a sudden he's got about 50 people shouting at him, going, can I do this, can I do this, can I do this?
And you can never please everybody.
You can't please everyone.
It's a very,
No.
it's an enviable role that Martin Bean has, but always very calm out there with the drivers. And, so things will start with that 15 minutes repair period. I also heard a couple of drivers almost start exasperated, like, why did I restart? Why did I restart? It's like-
Well, you know, because you don't know that that's going to happen, do you? The race could have carried on. We've had no red flags this weekend. That is the first one of the weekend. And coming into it, you know, it is just one of those things, isn't it? It will benefit some. It will be a disadvantage to others. And, you know, the biggest one I feel probably bad for is Scott Lindblom. You know, he had a really good start on that one. Now he's going to have a massive train as well. The same for Yuri Peschel. He will obviously start in a single file formation, he'll control the pack, but crucially the whole pack is going to be right there again. So he's going to have to really work on how he's going to have to defend this one going in towards the likes of turn 1, turn 2, everything like that. There's Lewis Werrell having a quick chat there with Martin Bean, our race director. Lewis Werrell sitting a little further down in the championship standings, in fact all the way down P15 in the championship standings. But there you go, words are going to be said, but we know that it's going to be at least 15 minutes from now until we are going to see another green flag before we go out. So we are going to take a short ad break. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back in a few moments' time.
Racing Spirit was born out of the need to create a clothing line that could embody the passion and the experience that OMP gathered and cultivated working alongside the most successful racing teams of the last 50 years. Racing Spirit garments are made by enthusiasts, for enthusiasts. They can be worn every day in leisure time, but especially on race venues, from the paddock of the hottest Formula One races to the service parks of winter rallies in all weather conditions. Racing Spirit offers a complete range of clothing and accessories for men and women, designed and developed in Italy, combining aesthetics, comfort, and functionality. Because of these features, it is the brand of choice of several prestigious motorsport outfits and organizations. Racing Spirit is the meeting point between high quality and Italian style, as well as the introduction of sustainable materials and innovations such as the use of graphene. Racing Spirit offering comes with 4 options: cutting-edge designs and customization techniques. Lifestyle is a line of garments ideal for everyday and leisure wear, with refined style and innovative materials. Crew are custom garments of the highest quality that strengthen the visual identity of the team or organization. For instance, the choice of Skoda Motorsport and Dallara. Corporate is a full custom-designed clothing line for sizable organizations, such as Toyota Racing Development. Finally, the Teamwear line for maximum creative freedom uses sublimation printing technology derived from OMP's racing experience. Similarly to the other Racing Force Group brands, Racing Spirit shares the same DNA of competing to be the first and ultimately become the reference in the market.
It makes life a lot easier out the track, so you don't have to worry about school and on-track performance and grades and all that sort of stuff.
The school understands exactly what I'm doing. They understand, how important it is for me, and the schedule that they, created for me is really well balanced, and I really enjoy it.
It's a very fine balance between his sporting career and also his studies. He doesn't have to compromise on either. I'm very happy that Meneva has supported us through this journey.
The communication is great, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think MVA would help a lot of other races. A lot of people come into the track and asking about it. What do you do for homeschool? Like, how does it work? And I always say, Minerva, you need to contact them and get going with them, because it's made my life so much easier.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round 3 of the Champions of the Future. If you're just joining us, we are currently under a red flag situation at the senior final here at the Slovak Karting Centre due to a quite rather large pile-up caused at turn number 11. No injuries reported to us in the commentary box. I think it was just a case of one driver spun, and then there was absolutely nowhere for the rest of the field to go, which just caused a humongous pile-up. As you can see, single file restart has been declared, going live at around 2, which is at around 6 minutes time. So we've still got a bit of time before we head over to that. And well, I'm looking in the air there. I thought maybe on the camera that was a spot of rain, but I think it was a leaf that flew past the camera line there. But as you can see, it has got a little bit dark out there, so they do have to worry about that one. Just that little bit. Reminder of this one, of course, Yuri Peschel starting it on pole position earlier on. He was in the lead of the race when the red flag came out, so he will obviously get the opportunity to start at the front of that train. Crucially, though, it was Ramekers who was in second place, and now all the work that Yuri Peschel had done to make that sort of avoid that sort of happening, it's now right back where it is.
It is, but I think the confidence that he's got this weekend can show that, you know, he can build it once again. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from earlier on today. We had the 2 super heats kick things off. This was the first of them. Peschel from pole position elected to go from the inside. In this one, he has switched it back and forth across the course of the weekend. Ramekers from P2. Good steady start there, Anthony. Everybody through the first couple of corners.
Yes, it was a good first opening couple of superheats. Ramekers later on getting the move. Big send down the inside through turn number 7. And that's been one of the most popular places for drivers to go for the overtake over the course of the weekend. This was one of the biggest shocks, I think. Noah Wolf not making the final. A driver who did so well at Val d'Argenton, and could just imagine it was just a bad weekend from the word go. Not a great qualifying. Qualifying heats didn't go his way. And then in the super heats, no bueno. It just failed on him. Big moments there. That curb on the exit of turn number 2, that has been giving us some fantastic moments all the way throughout this weekend. Scott Lindblom's been one that's impressed over the course of this weekend as well. Brilliant start at the beginning of the final that we were just witnessing as well. So having some good runs. The same can be said for Finn McLaughlin as well. He finished second in his first super heats. There again, Lindblom proving his worth there. Big send at turn number 12 on Yuri Peschel, who didn't win his super heat earlier on. He actually finished P4 in that one, but he still was in a good position to hold on to the lead of that one and get away. That was drama further back. Local drivers not having the run they want. Travuska there just not getting the recovery he would have wanted. But Ramekers, crucially, taking the win. He took the first win in the superheats, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and continued that form that we saw at the back end of yesterday in the concluding rounds of those qualifying heats. Superheat number 2 went like this. Kai Rillat starting from pole position, knowing that if he won the race, he would snatch pole position in the final away from Peschel. But second, third, fourth, anything further down would not be good enough. It was crucial that he held ahead of the Kart Republic. Scott Drummond taking a hop across the curb on that first lap has been putting points on the board. The driver who was in the championship lead. This was the moment where Montero got through past Rillat. You could see how Rillat was fighting to try and keep himself alongside, knowing he'd have the advantage for the next corner, but it wasn't to be. A number of drivers retiring, including Thames Soleil in the midst of all of that. It really has been a difficult driver for a number of the senior category here this weekend. Jimmy Elias has been on good form, though, Anthony. A number of overtakes. Superheat was no different. That was him getting past Lewis Worrell on lap number 2.
Yeah, it certainly was. Finished P3 in his superheat. And again, big moves there in the background. Drivers fighting their way through this field. That was Leon Nilsson going for those moves. There's Bernardo Benoldi, and he's been a talking point this weekend, hasn't he, Bernardo Benoldi? Sometimes for the right reasons, but mainly for the wrong reasons, unfortunately, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had really good hopes for Benoldi at the start of the weekend because he seems to have fixed the qualifying gremlins and had good opportunities far up the grid, but just hasn't been able to convert them and has missed out on this final. That was one of the DPKs going through. There was the end of Benoldi's weekend. Offered his nemesis, turn number 1. That's the 3rd incident that Benoldi's had down there this weekend. Lewis Worrell had a good fight back in superheat number 2 in the latter stages. He kind of got a little bit ganged up upon by the Premers early on, but he started picking his way back through. That was a superb move from Salim Hannar through turn 7 on lap number 15. David Cosma Christopher thought, I'll have a piece of that as well with the big sends down the inside. That was on Lewis Francis through the kink of turn 14. Unfortunately for Maris Hladky, that would be the end of his wildcard weekend. But Montero taking the win. We've not talked about Montero too much in terms of this final because he started there on the 3rd row of the grid. Slipped back a little bit, was P7 as we go for that restart. A replay of the first start for the final. That's how Lindblom got down the inside of Ramekes for P2. Peschel holding the lead at the start. This was the view from the camera. As once again, it seems to be Kart Republics that very much like that little hop across the curb of turn number 2. This right now was a very key move because that was the move that Ramekes did before the red flag came out to get him into P2. They see the cause of our red flag if you're just joining us here in Slovakia. Alexander Bondarev getting turned round and then everybody else piling in with nowhere to go. Testament to the safety of these OK Senior karts that no one's been hurt. The karts obviously have needed a bit of attention over the last 15 minutes in the repair area. But hopefully we can get everybody back into this one. Now, we did hear earlier on, Anthony, about potential front nose fairing penalties being applied to all of them immediately.
Yeah.
We have had one. Louis Iglesias has gone back. No, apologies. No, it's not Louis Iglesias. It's a big one. Zach Drummond. Zach Drummond has gone back 5 seconds. So he was sat 10th on the road. He will restart this race from 19th.
Yeah, that is a big shock for him. He went into this weekend leading the championship. Well, there you can see the whistles blown, and now this is the 10th time because race run karts stopping and then trying to start again is a very difficult thing to do. The engines don't like it because they've been jumped up rapidly. They're all wound up, they're hot, they're everything like that, and it's hard to get them going again. So this is a tense time for to see if all the karts actually get restarted. I'm
glad you've said that because I can't be blamed for cursing anybody this time.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Doesn't restart, but gradually bit by bit, we'll get everybody restarted. Drivers go into effectively a slow procedure. And it will be a single file restart. There's Peschel at the front of the order. Ramekes P2, Lindblom and Turney completing the top 4. Do you know what? I fancy Finn McLaughlin to have a good run in this one, Anthony. You know, he's had another one of those weekends with a difficult qualifying, but has shown his race skill. They're in 5th place. This just could be the opportunity he needs to shine and put himself back in the mix in terms of the championship picture.
Certainly does, doesn't it? Well, as you can see there, the marshals making sure drivers staying nice and slow with those very lovely, clean yellow flags. Good to see that the marshal have been keeping those in check. But great to see all the hard work again from the marshalling team and all of the officials out there. Go on, you've got your finger up.
On the basis that we can see the top 4, and they have now clicked through on timing and scoring, we have all 35 karts who started, about 25 minutes ago, back in. The only karts not running out there is the 218 of Mateus Morgado, which if you're with us at the top of this part of the programme, you'll know he is a did not start. He has missed the start of this final for, to us in the box, currently unknown reasons. Hope he's all okay. Right, are we good to go back to green? I think we are. We're back to racing speeds now as Peschel takes us back from the pit. No, we're still in the slow procedure. That's slightly confused me for a moment there. But yes, the slow procedure boards are still out.
Yeah, the slow boards are still out. Our timing's gone green, so I think there's a bit of confusion out there a little bit. So I think maybe we'll be going green this time around. I saw that the marshals at turn 1 had got rid of their slow boards, but then when they got to post 2 and the drivers have seen it, they saw more slow boards. Now the slow boards are back out on the start-finish line and at post number 1. So let's see if we're going this time around, because obviously with static flags, that means it should be coming in that lap. That's usually what that means. Usually when it's been just deployed, the slow procedure, the flags are waving at that point, and then they go static to indicate to the drivers that this time around we should be going green. So yes, another lap for drivers to get everything up to temperature. I think even the drivers thought they were going, because you heard the revs raise and they bolted at the front. So I think yes, and actually you can see on the gantry there, it is green flag. So I think yes, we will be going this time around. So Peschel right at the front of this order. You can see on the timing screen that Salim Hanar is there, but don't worry about that. That will change when these drivers go back across the line. Right, this time around, are we going? Drivers getting bunched up. Salim Hanar keeping it nice and close is there. Yinri Peschel, lights go green. Here we go. We are now away and racing as we head down towards turn 2. Lindblom to the inside. Turney goes through, gets the switchback on both of them and moves up into second place. Peschel once again has broken away from the rest of the field. Turney is going to try his level best to try and close back in here on the rest of the field, but it is Peschel from Turney, Lindblom from Ramekers, who's gone down to 4th place now. Montero, who is just behind Finn McLaughlin, who's up into P5. David Cosma from Dube, from Elias, from Rillards, Werrell in 11th place at the moment. There was green flags out there. I don't know if that was because there was a brief yellow, but I think we're all good at the moment.
Problems for Elliot Kaczynski and Alexander Bondarev, two of the karts, two of the drivers who were involved in the incidents before the red flag. Their race has gone from bad to worse. They're a good few seconds off the back of the group. Got to say, that restart, that was all about experience. Joe Turney has raced at this level for a good number of years. Lindblom in his first weekend in the seniors in the OK categories, diving down the inside. Ramekers trying to fight it. Turney just held back a little bit, knowing I'll get the slingshot underneath, get P2 quite easily, and now he goes on the attack of the local favourite. Yindrik Peschel, with all those wins this weekend, has been in really good form. Joe Turney had an okay qualifying, qualified P7, was one of those affected by the rain at the end of group number 3. But this is Turney time. He's right there in the groove, all over the back of the ASD Monster K factory team entry as Lindblom's looking down the inside. Is there a bit of a switchback here for Turney? No, he can't pull side by side this time, but this is serious, serious pressure on Yindrik Peschel now.
Yeah, it certainly is. Went very defensive there in towards turn 15. We are on lap 7 of 26 right now, so we're a fair chunk of the way into this race. But crucially, I think what Peschel's trying to do is back them all up. There was McLaughlin down the inside of Ramekers. Ramekers has not had a good getaway at the start of this one. A bit squirrely under braking for Scott Lindblom there, nearly into the back of Joe Turney's rear bumper, but all is fine. Turney once again on the charge here. He'll have another attempt to try and go for the move, but Peschel once again just causing them to close into each other, has put Turney to think about what's happening behind as McLaughlin goes for the move into 3rd place. Now Turney will have to think really carefully here as McLaughlin and Ramekers go through. It opens up the gap as Turney and Peschel start to break away.
And it's McLaughlin who took the race win at Valencia, starting to come up through the field. Peschel starting to get back into his rhythm again. This is what we saw through the qualifying heats. Most of those qualifying heats, that he's got this great ability this weekend of just being able to edge away by half a tenth here, half a tenth there. Defensive move from the 2-4-8 there of Cosma Christopher, not letting Andrea Dupe get down the inside into turn number 7. We're on lap number 8 now. Joe Turney starting to turn the pace up again. He's gone green through sector 1, sector 2. Let's have a look at a replay. I think this is how we're going to lose Kaczynski and Bondarev, who, well, those two karts were locked together before the red flag and have done so again after the red flag and taken those two out of contention. Bondarev is one of the fastest drivers on the circuit at the moment, but it's not going to be a repeat of the podium from the start of the season in Spain.
Yeah, a sign that his kart is okay, but it's also a sign that he's got absolutely no traffic in front of him and he can set qualifying times. Lindblom back down the inside, so does Andrea Dupe, so does Jimmy Elias, and down, unfortunately, the order will go. I believe that's David Cosma tumbling down the order there. He will not like that one bit. Rilarts is also trying to follow through. Rilarts has not had the best start to this final. Started on the front row of the grid, had a really good weekend, did Kai Rilarts. But it's not going well on this one. There is a driver tumbling down the order as Peschel again goes defensive in towards turn 15. That brings Turney right back into contention. It's Michael Adair, the driver, who is off the circuit at turn number 9. He's trying to get it restarted, but it looks like there's quite a bit of damage to that kart. I don't think he's going any further. Peschel still holds on to the lead. Turney has not been able to find a way past just yet, and that is where you've got the local experience of the circuit from Yuri Peschel, and you've got pure experience from Joe Turney, and he's going to show that experience now as he sends it down the inside through turn number 7. As we go into yellow flags, that's for Michael Adair, so that overtake done just before those yellow flags out on the circuit, but Turney leads the way. Now McLaughlin's going to go through as well. Finn McLaughlin looking to see if he can try and get another championship win in a final here as Ramikas goes through as well. Peschel is down to 4th place as Alexander Bondarev receives the warning flag for that incident with Elliot Kaczynski.
Indeed. I think this is the problem for Peschel now, that a bit of vulnerability has been shown with that move by Joe Turney down the inside, and now they're all steaming in, trying to take these positions away from Peschel. Peschel's best result so far this year in a final for Champions of the Future 2024 is 6th, last time out in France. New fastest lap of the race from Luna Flusha, 50.862. She was one of the karts, one of the drivers involved in that incident before the red flag, and is currently in 26th position, has gained 4 from where she started. Key now for VDK Racing. We've seen some great work from them over the last couple of days, Anthony, of being able to lead 1-2 trains. It's not a 1-2 train right now, it's a 2-3, but McLaughlin and Ramikas need to work together right now to close in on Joe Turney. The championship points scenario, Ramikas is currently sat on 192, Drummond a little bit further back on 159. Drummond is recovering from where he took the restart, 19th up to 15th. Peschel is now 3rd on 143, Gomez 138 in 4th, and Joe Turney now, well, still sat in 5th place, but a closer 5th place now on 134. We're on lap 12. We're about to go to the halfway point of this final in the senior class this weekend in the OK category, and the VDK boys are working well together right now, but the pace from Joe Turney as Jimmy Elias goes down the inside of Noah Montero for 5th place. Turney's just able to hold that gap at the moment. We saw this kind of racing from him in France. He's just able to not take too much out of the tyres right now, Anthony, but hold that gap at 0.4, make the others work hard and potentially take performance out of their Max's primes.
Certainly so. We'll keep an eye on this one. Insult to injury for Michael Adair, also getting a warning flag on top of being out of this race. Salim Hana now setting the fastest lap of the race, right at the back of the field in 33rd. But certainly trying his best to try and push through as much as he possibly can. McLaughlin now doing his level best there in P2, but I think with the fact that the concertina effect is kicking in now into the slow sectors, maybe becoming a bit of a rolling roadblock to the drivers behind, checks over the shoulder, and maybe we could see a change here between 2nd and 3rd. Maybe Ramikas might have a chance to close into Turney. The gap's still 0.4 of a second. McLaughlin's not falling off the back here of the lead. He is still doing an absolutely fantastic job there in P2. But I think these drivers behind just thinking, I want to have a go at trying to do this now. Jimmy Elias now looking for a move here on Peschel, and he does get through. Nicely done, and I've got to say, the Frenchman's been on form this weekend, really showing strong commitment in the Victory Lane karting team. And like you say, he could play a really big role in this final.
It's been a big turnaround for Jimmy Elias. I think he had a really tough time in the events at Val d'Argenton, was a bit disappointed with what happened there on home soil, but he's really turned it around this weekend. As I say, this overtaking has been absolutely on point. You could see him just thinking about that move there, whether to go for it, whether to not go for it. He didn't get caught in two minds. Once he made a decision, it was a precision piece of driving to take 4th place. Now he sets about the 2 VDKs at the front of the order. Turney, similar to what we saw with Costoya in the junior race, is very strong in sector number 3. I just wonder, has that been the place where they've focused on the setup? It's where we see a lot of the overtakes, of course. There's a great way of not being overtaken through a high activity area of the circuit is if you focus your setup on that part of the circuit yourself. It acts as a defence. Through goes Ramakas on his teammate into second place. Elias has hopped through as well into third. So a change in the order. What is the gap going to grow to? It's up to 5.5 tenths now between Turney and Ramakas. And is it going to be a repeat of what we saw at round 2? Turney versus Ramakas once again in an OK final here in Champions of the Future.
Exactly that. We just don't know. Remember, Ramakas has won a final. He won at Val d'Argenton, and then it was Finn McLaughlin who won at Valencia. Both of those are still in a chance here to win, but Jimmy Elias could be a third here if he can close up to current race leader Joe Turney. Well, he's got past Timo Ramakas now, so he is on his way of doing such a thing, and a very late lunge there for Finn McLaughlin on his teammate Timo Ramakas. There's no love lost between the two of them here as he tries to fight back at this stage of the race. And I've got to say, I can understand the frustration maybe a little bit here from Finn McLaughlin. He was closing in, but now Montero's going to go through. McLaughlin's going to not lose one, but he's going to lose two as Yuri Peschel goes through as well. So it's from bad to worse here for Finn McLaughlin. He's tumbled down, and now he's got the likes of David Cosma right on that rear bumper. Here you can see him really closing in now. I expect that battle is far from over. 10 laps to go in this race, and still it is Turney who leads the way now by 0.6 of a second ahead of Jimmy Elias. Ramakas is there in third, Montero from Peschel, McLaughlin, Cosma, Lindblom, Rillarts, Leon Nilsson rounds out the top 10.
I tell you what, with that top 10, there's a lot to think about. As here comes Cosma, Christopher trying to find a way past McLaughlin. Peschel gets back down the inside. Scott Lindblom still there as well. That top 10 is being absolutely dominated by Kart Republic runners right now. You've got numerous drivers in the Works team there. You've got a number of the satellite teams as well. You've only got it's the likes of Jindřich Peschel on the CRG and the Sony Carter Kai Rillarts that are breaking the trend right now. I think as we go for future events here at the Slovak Karting Centre, a lot to think about for those not running a KR chassis off the back of this race, but still a number of laps of this third round for Champions of the Future 2024 to go, and very important ones in terms of the championship. Joe Turney still leads by just over half a second through sector 3. This is where he's been strong. There's a good amount of parity between himself and Jimmy Elias through the first couple of sectors. There's a yellow flag out. I think there's problems for Gabriel Gomez and Miguel Costa. There are problems for Gabriel Gomez and Miguel Costa, and Miguel Costa seems to be in a bit of discomfort there. I do hope he's okay, but it's been a tough weekend for both of Gomez and Costa. It ends here on lap 18.
Yep, there'll be yellow flags out in that sector as the field makes their way to that moment now, and there, yeah, confirmation. You can see yellow flags out there, double waved yellows to be precise. So drivers do needing to be prepared to slow down. Now the drivers have been cleared from that side of the circuit, which is good to see that they're on their feet and walking. But yeah, as you saw from those pictures, clearly some discomfort for Costa, which is a big shame. And like you say, that's two big names that have been well known in this paddock and fighting at the front and fighting close in the championship and being the dominant forces, and they're out of this final, and they were starting really far down in the order as well.
And I think it's out of the race as well goes the Paralin there. I think that's Anatoly Khavalkin. Yes, it is. So Khavalkin is out of this one also. I think Hugo Marti slipped down the order also to P29. Yeah, it's been a really curious case for Gomez this weekend. You think back to Spain, you think back to round 1 when teams were getting to grips with the new tyres, quite literally. CRG looked so far ahead of everybody else. The work that Kart Republic have done over the last few months has been, it's really turned the tables. I mean, we saw a good amount of parity between them at Val d'Argenton. But here at this phase of the season, yeah, there's definitely work to do there for Gomez and the CRG team.
But then you've got to think of the circuits, what we were racing at. We were at Valencia, we're at Val d'Argenton, fast-flowing circuits versus this one here at the Slovakia ring, the Slovak Karting Centre. Tight, narrow, twisty. It plays into the soft, malleable chassis that is a Kart Republic chassis.
True.
And as you can see, they tuck it into here. Look how planted they look. They just grip and everything like that. And you're seeing that right here now. Well, they're in different teams here, but they're all on the same chassis. And as you can see here, Jimmy Elias has closed right in now, and he's going to go on the attack straight away. Not going to waste any time on Joe Turney. And as we called it earlier on, could Jimmy Elias play a pivotal role in this final? The answer to that is very much yes. As we go on to lap 22 or 26, Jimmy Elias from France leads here in Slovakia. He could be the third different final winner, the same as Joe Turney. The only person who's won a final this season is the driver there in third place of Thibaut Ramekers, and he is still in line to do it. Noah Montero has just received a warning flag. That is a big shame for Montero, the driver who won his superheat, who started this one on the third row of the grid, sits a little further down in this order now, and of course with that 5-second time penalty will not be happy at all. In fact, he sits in fourth place at the moment. He's closing in on these drivers. That is a huge surprise there. What on earth did he do?
Yeah, it's a real shame for Montero that that's going to ruin any chances of taking a race victory here. Well, I was going to say, it was a huge lap in prospect for Jimmy Elias, that last one, and he's absolutely nailed it. He's got half a second over Joe Turney now. Joe Turney, we saw a little bit of this at Valencia in the final, where he had a very fast start and then just faded in the last third. Is it happening again for Turney there in the 2.03? What does Ramekers do about this? Once again, these are the two drivers who fought for the win at Val d'Argenton, because Jimmy Elias is absolutely flying down the road. He's taken another 10th out of them through sector number 1. What's the pace like through sector number 2? Elias has just gone PB through sector number 2. I think if Ramekers wants to win this race, he's got to get through past Turney now. Turney looks to be fading in terms of that race pace as we enter the last 3 laps of this one. The gap is up to 0.8 of a second. Is the move going to come in from Ramekers? He's got to think championship as well. This is a good weekend for him. He's extending his championship lead over Zach Drummond, who's back into the points, or is no? I think he's slipped further down again. But this is a really testing moment, I think, for the young mind of Thibaut Ramekers. This is where the experience comes into play. Oh, out of the race. Is that the 2.02? Of Peschel. I think Peschel has fallen down. It's the 2.62. Jindřich Peschel is out of this final after having dominated periods of the weekend, and a red flag. A red flag has been flown for the second time in this race, with Jimmy Elias at the front of the field at the end of lap 24.
Now, didn't see how that happened. You can see that Jiri Peschel is on his feet and walking away, but clearly in some discomfort, holding his arm there. That is a big, big shame. We didn't see what happened there on track, but the drivers have been stopped once again. Now, this is a crucial phase because we were on lap 23 of 26, and I think if it's more than a certain percentage of a race distance, the race gets called there. Now, do not take my word for that. We are going to get the regs up. Are you, Andrew Mather? Yes, he nods his head for me. Find out what exactly the percentage is for that one. But at the moment, it was Jimmy Elias, and there you can already see drivers congratulating Jimmy Elias. So I think even the drivers think that it will be called there, and that it has been confirmed. The race has been called. It is finished, so it will be Jimmy Elias who will be your race winner then, and your third different final winner of the season. And this time it comes from France's Jimmy Elias for the Victory Lane karting team. Joe Turney will finish in second place ahead of Belgium's Thibaut Ramekers. Noah Montero will finish in fourth place, but of course he's got that 5-second time penalty. And just confirm, yes, it is 75% race distance, confirms a no restart. So race definitely confirmed as called And congratulations to France's Jimmy Elias.
Well-deserved victory. He's been on it absolutely all weekend. And, yeah, the overtakes have been spot on. I don't think we've seen him put a foot wrong. There's not been a single overtake where you go, oh, that was a little bit of an ambitious one. And, you know, he stayed calm at the wheel. It's another great result for Victory Lane Karting. It's a win for Victory Lane Karting. That has been coming, for me, for the whole of 2024. So a full credit to the Victory Lane team. They have their win in the senior category that they feel they've been due a while. It follows up the win, of course, for Rocco Coronel earlier in the season in the juniors. There is your provisional classification after 23 laps here at the Slovak Karting Centre for the final. Jimmy Elias for France wins ahead of Joe Turney. Timo Ramakas in third extends his championship lead. Noah Montero in P4, but remember, does have a warning flag. In fifth place as well on the road, David Cosma Christopher. Good to see the Romanian up there. That's one of his strongest race performances here in 2024. Kai Rillots in sixth place in that one. I do believe that is a best result in a final so far in 2024 for Rillots and Champions of the Future. Scott Lindblom could be very pleased with seventh place, moving up, of course, from OK Junior into the senior OK category. It's his first run. It's a top 10. And it beats all the results that he had in the first two rounds when he was in OK Junior. Eighth place for Andrea Dupe on his first appearance of 2024. Very nicely done there by the Italian. Lewis Werrell strong again, the top 10 for him. A top 10 that was completed by Dmitry Matviev. Vivek Kanthan P11 ahead of Finn McLaughlin, who did look like he was going to have the pace to at least challenge in that one, but unfortunately faded towards the end, and it's P12. But points on the board again for the Irishman. 13th was Xavier Avramidis. Andy Consani and Matteo Giaccardi score points as well, all in the top 15. Let's have a look at the highlights then from that, well, slightly disrupted final with two red flags during it. This was the first start, and Peschel getting a good run away at the front of the field. All drivers making it through the first couple of corners. Ramakas down the inside of the fast-starting Scott Lindblom. This is where we had our first red flag. Bondarev at the front of it. There you see Kaczynski up in the air, and a number of other drivers, 9 karts needing to go to the repair area. And understandably, the red flag was thrown on the basis that everyone was trying to get restarted and across the width of the track as the rest of the field was coming through. This was the restart. This was after 2 laps of slow procedure. Peschel getting a really good run again. Lindblom down the inside of Ramakas once more. Joe Turney taking advantage of that battle between the youngsters, though. He nipped through to second place. There was more bad news for both Bondarev and Kaczynski after their involvement in the first incident on lap 2. They had that problem off the restarts. Their races in terms of big points were done at that point. Finn McLaughlin looking really quick in the early stages. He was making his way through, past Ramakas, past Lindblom as well, was up to third place, threatening the likes of Turney and Peschel ahead. And well, it looked really good that it could be another race victory to follow up the one that Finn McLaughlin had at the start of the season in Spain. Lindblom went back on the attack down the inside of Cosma Christopher there for another position. This was the move for the lead. Turney down the inside of Peschel. He'd been toying around with the Czech driver up to that point, but made that decisive move. And that kind of opened the doors for drivers to have a go at Jindřich Peschel. Is sometimes how it breaks down here in karting. Through went McLaughlin, through went Ramagas, through went Jimmy Elias as well, who was starting to come into play there on lap number 14. Ramakas went past his teammate, knowing he needed to get back into second place to try and close Joe Turney down. Turney was holding that lead at around half a second throughout this period of the race, but none of them could stop the pace of Jimmy Elias. Similar to what we've seen across the course of this weekend, his second half of the races have been very good in the victory lane. The 2 VDKs went side by side once again through turn number 11. This was the point of the race where things just started to fade away for Finn McLaughlin. That was Noah Montero going down the inside and Jindřich Peschel at the start of lap 17. The question was, could Jimmy Elias close in and catch up to up to the leader, Joe Turney, as Cosmo Christopher fought with McLaughlin and Peschel over 5th place. Scott Lindblom still in there as well as we entered that last third. This is how we lost Gabriel Gomez and Miguel Costa, 2 drivers we would have hoped for points this weekend, but they would unfortunately not score any. This was the phase where we started to see Elias close in, and Anatoly Kavalkin was also a retirement from this race. Here was the key move from Elias into turn 12. We've seen a lot of moves through turn 12 this weekend. That was one of the most important of them all. Elias, with that precision, just keeping it nice and calm at the wheel. Good front end, turning the kart in, but then the race would be stopped a few laps from the end of its planned finish due to an incident involving Jindřich Peschel. There, real shame for Peschel. Say he's won a number of heats across the course of the weekend. He still scored a lot of points, of course, from across the course of the qualifying and super heats, but not the way he would have wanted to finish his final. And due to the race completed distance being beyond 75%, that meant that Jimmy Elias there in the 253 for Victory Lane Karting was declared your winner here for round 3 of Champions of the Future for the OK category, receiving congratulations there from Joe Turney, Thibaut Ramekers, Andrea Dupe and others. A worthy winner, a really good drive, a turnaround drive after a difficult few weeks earlier on in the season. Jimmy Elias back on form, back on top. Isn't quite there in that top 6 of the Virtual Championship scores, but I don't think he'll care a jot about that. He is your winner and can march on to Sweden with confidence. Virtual Championship scores. Ramekers, 192, now leads ahead of Zach Drummond, who's there on 158, but very much still in contention. Gomez on 134. Turney goes up to 4th place now in the championship, gets ahead of Peschel, who's still there in 5th place. That's a huge step up from Peschel. From where he was at the start of the weekend. I think he was around 9th place at the start of the weekend. So hopefully he's okay, and hopefully we'll see Peschel back in that same kind of form that we saw this weekend when we go to Kristianstad, the weekend of the 17th to the 20th of July. Finn McLaughlin still very much a part of things as well, on 100 points, less than the full haul for a whole weekend behind his teammate Thibaut Ramekers. You can see the drivers and mechanics making their way back into Parc Fermé. Of course, the result is provisional. We're going to take a short break here. We'll be back shortly with the podium ceremony after these short messages.
Racing Spirit was born out of the need to create a clothing line that could embody the passion and the experience that OMP gathered and cultivated working alongside the most successful racing teams of the last 50 years. Racing Spirit garments are made by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. They can be worn every day in leisure time, but especially on race venues. From the paddock of the hottest Formula One races to the service parks of winter rallies in all weather conditions. Racing Spirit offers a complete range of clothing and accessories for men and women, designed and developed in Italy, combining aesthetics, comfort, and functionality. Because of these features, it is the brand of choice of several prestigious motorsport outfits and organizations. Racing Spirit is the meeting point between high quality and Italian style, as well as the introduction of sustainable materials and innovations, such as the use of graphene. Racing Spirit offering comes with 4 options: cutting-edge designs and customization techniques. Lifestyle is a line of garments ideal for everyday and leisure wear, with refined style and innovative materials. Crew are custom garments of the highest quality that strengthen the visual identity of the team or organization. For instance, the choice of Skoda Motorsport and Dallara. Corporate is a full custom-designed clothing line for sizable organizations, such as Toyota Racing Development. Finally, the teamwear line for maximum creative freedom uses sublimation printing technology derived from OMP's racing experience. Similarly to the other Racing Force Group brands, Racing Spirit shares the same DNA of competing to be the first and ultimately become the reference in the market.
It makes life a lot easier out the track, so you don't have to worry about school and on-track performance and grades and all that sort of stuff.
The school understands exactly what I'm doing. They understand, how important it is for me, and the schedule that they, catered for me is really well balanced, and I really enjoy it.
It's a very fine balance between his sporting career and also his studies. He doesn't have to compromise on either. I'm very happy that Minerva has supported us through this journey.
The communication is great, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think MVA would help a lot of other races. A lot of people come into the track and asking about it. What do you do for homeschool? Like, how does it work? And I always say, Minerva, you need to contact them and get going with them, because it's made my life so much easier.
Welcome back to the Slovak Karting Centre, the culmination of round 3 for Champions of the Future 2024, where a drama-filled OK final even had more drama afterwards. As we always say, the results are provisional, and there has been a change in the results. This always can happen. It always is a risk. But the news we're receiving in the box is that the 250 of Noah Montero, we knew had a 5-second penalty from a warning flag. But unfortunately, very unfortunately, there has also been a front fairing plus 5-second penalty, sadly, for kart number 253, Jimmy Elias. So the results, the podium, which we will be heading down to in a few moments, is Joe Turney is your winner of round 3 here in Slovakia. Second place to Thibaut Ramakas, and third place to David Kozma Christopher. A great day for the KR team, 1 and 3, and VDK Racing in P2. Sunny conditions still here at the Slovak Karting Centre. I do hope we can now head down to the podium, to Anthony Jordan, to head over the podium ceremony for the OK category. No, we're going to keep going for now. Apologies for that. And indeed, so it's a real shame for Jimmy Elias that he's not been able to hold on to that victory on the road. But again, that is the nature of the rule with those front fairings. So 5 seconds will move him down around, I think, around to 6th place behind Kai Rillerts and ahead of Scott Lindblom. So yeah, a real shame, of course, but again, it's good points for Jimmy Elias and Victory Lane Karting, and they can say that they definitely had the race pace this weekend as they get ready for future races. They can be very much buoyed by that. It will change things in terms of the championship as well. A few more points for Thibaut Ramakas will extend his lead even further ahead of Zach Drummond, so it'll be 3 extra points in the championship for Thibaut Ramakas. For Joe Turney, likewise, another 3 points for him, pulls him level with Gabriel Gomez on 134 points. Now we can head down to the podium and to Anthony Jordan.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I do apologise for the delay on that one. As you can imagine, quite a hectic final here in Slovakia for the senior category. But we do have our top 3. Please welcome onto the podium for Romania. Give it up. It's David Kozma. In 2nd position, please welcome onto the podium for Belgium. It's Thibaut Ramakas. And finally, your race winner representing the United Kingdom. Give it up for Joe Turney. And finally, please welcome onto the podium to represent the Kart Republic team, Dino Chiesa. We will now listen to the national anthem of the United Kingdom. Give it up for the top 3 in the senior category here at Slovakia. Please now welcome onto the podium to present the winner's trophy to the top 3 in the senior category, Rob Van Es, to present the 3rd place trophy to David Kozma. The 2nd place trophy being represented to Thibaut Ramakas. And the winner's trophy to the United Kingdom's Joe Turney. And of course, the team's trophy to Dino Chiesa for Kart Republic. All 3 drivers on the podium using the Kart Republic equipment. A brilliant result for the top 3. So nice big smiles there for the drivers. So drivers' trophies nice and high up in the air for me, please. Nice big smiles for all the photographers out there. A brilliant result to the top three. And please, all drivers on that top step of the podium. Dino, join them as well. Get up there. I'm sure Caro would like to join you as well on that top spot. But nice big smiles once again for all of the photographers out there. Such a dramatic final on that one. 2 red flags coming out. The race being called under red flag, and of course post-race penalties playing a part of this one, but certainly a very dramatic race. We'd now like to present the bottles of bubbly to the drivers out there. It's been a hot and demanding weekend for the drivers. Dino, feel free to duck and cover at this point now. You probably don't want to be around here for this bit, but bring Carrie as well. I'm sure he's also a VIP. Don't get him covered as well. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. It's champagne! Well, there you have it for the Kart Republic team. That is a superb result for all of them. Before we go anywhere, Joe, we're going to come in and have a quick chat with you. Don't go anywhere too far. I'm going to come on this side of you, Joe. You stay on that side. Joe, that was a tough old race on that one. Lots of drama, but certainly you came through on top at the end of that one. Tell us, what was it from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, had to push quite a lot at the start to make sure that Jindrik was not getting away too much, but hopefully he's okay after his crash, so it was pretty unfortunate for him. But then just trying to keep a gap, but started to lose the tyre a bit at the last half of the race because of how hard I pushed at the start. So Jimmy managed to get through and he was fast. So yeah, again, unfortunate for him with the nose cone. So I think in the end he had the speed all week and deserved probably to win, but it's how it goes, and we were in the right place at the right time.
That's what we needed, isn't it? It's never nice when a race ends under a red flag condition. Does this prime yourself ready for a couple of weeks' time? We're back here, of course, but do you feel confident that you've learnt a lot from this weekend?
Yeah, for sure we learned a lot. I think we still need to do some work to make sure that we're able to be at the front from the start of the week. So I need to have a look and see what I can do better, and hopefully we can have another good week next time.
That's what we hope. Well, congratulations. Well done, Joe. We'll let you celebrate now with the team, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Excellent stuff there for Kart Republic, and of course for all the drivers here this weekend. It's been an absolutely superb weekend for all of the drivers in both OKJ and the senior OK category. Of course, for Christian Costoya, he goes away with a race win, and of course Joe Turney, who walks right in front of me, also gets a race win as well. But as we head to the next round, it's certainly going to be an exciting one. We don't know who is going to come away as the champion, but we head to Sweden next here for the Champions of the Future. But from here at Slovakia, it's goodbye for now.